When you're ready, sir.
Sound like a bullfrog. 12 minutes Thursday.
What time? That's what you
Well, subject to question.
You're ready whenever? Okay. Everybody else good? We will call to order the regular Committee of the Whole meeting. Can we please begin with roll call?
Councilmember Robinson.
Here.
Seeley.
Here.
Connell.
Here.
Shemmers.
Here.
Obrin.
Here.
Mustin.
Here.
Kearns.
Here. All right. Mr. Matt.
Roger that. Thank you, Your Honor. So, about 2 years ago, you guys worked up, I think with just about everybody here, there's a few new faces, but we worked on a strategic plan 2020 and 2022, and then this basically fits into the overall master strategic plan that goes till 2032. And so our categories, we really break it down very simplistically, are finance, because if you don't have your dollars, you can't have your squeezy light bulbs that they have. Communications, both with the council, with the community, and vice versa, with the businesses, with the citizens, with the departments, making the departments better. Does anybody remember how many departments are in the city? 11, correct. And so that, and then along with quality of life. And so those are the main four categories. So then as we did a deep dive, we basically rolled through and then started to take a look at indicators for success. And so there's some of these things, if you guys had looked at this, I'm going to pause and say, like it says, what say you, council? Because some of these things, I put the facts I know, and then some have to be comments by you guys to make sure we're on track for that. And what we're building towards is completing all these items, and then in the spring, we're going to work on a 2022, 20 to 24 strategic goals as well to update this. So in this case, the city council adopts a budget every March, so that was completed last year as directed by in 2019. It is now March 31st. It used to be the 15th. And so March 31st, we did that. We're on track now as we're going to start the budget season, and we've already kicked off with the capital improvement plan. We'll go into the mayor's budget day and then the budget sessions with Miss Anita Dalton, and then that'll all culminate by 31 March, and in between there, get everything knocked out and done. Monthly meetings with finance, committee's been started back up. You guys have been doing it for probably more than a year now. So we're going to continue with that as well. That was one of our indicators of success. Then is council satisfied with financial information provided within 48 hours of discussion by finance committee? And I would ask the council, have you guys been satisfied with that indicator of success?
I'd say yes.
I got one yes.
Yes.
Yeah. Good.
Yeah, I thought it's brought some good results, but just in the short.
I thought it's brought good results in the short time that we've, kind of hammered through some things with banking RFP and finding out what we've been doing with, surplus funds and things like that. So it's been good. We're actually supposed to have one Thursday, but I think we had to move it. Yeah,
Gotcha.
Because Anita's busy.
And we'll have part of the training for the new folks too. We're going to have some finance pieces and parts by Anita as far as breaking down proprietary, general fund, all that. So we'll have that stacked for that. But I think it's just anything with those would be, if there's anything, not just finance, but if there's something you need to get information on, hopefully we're quicker than 48 hours. But
One of the things that we attended way back on our first time was that League of Cities information. That I think that really kind of puts things in perspective too. So not only we're looking at hey, we're paying $5 for this, but we're looking at how that $5 gets to where we can use it. How is it being accounted for? So, and I thought that was a very good thing. I would make sure that we're including when we went to the League of Cities meeting a couple months ago, whenever it was. That really helped, and I think that's part of this whole financial discussion, knowing how the pieces above, filter down to the pieces that we're signing off on every other week.
Yep. So that'll all become clear soon as I look out in the crowd. And so Anita Dalton does a great job of getting us through the budgets, and what Councilman Orban's alluding to is part of the League of City training includes a specific one-day event that has most of all finance stuff that talks about how the finances stuff works. So you can be like, Yeah, so we'll get those questions. And then collective bargaining, we did a 5-year, and that's compliments across the board from Lynch Dallas, the fire, police chiefs, ASME reps, the leadership of the ASME. So I think that was really good. Anita Dalton as well helping out. But I have 5 years there, and knock on wood, but we've been doing pretty good on any grievance and pieces, so that's good. And then reduction of the health care, we had that. I think it was $127K overall, so that was good to lower that part. And then we had for maintain, improve, continue on the finance side, basically 5-year financial projections. So as you guys know, that can be tough because we don't know valuation till the end of December, right? But we can gauge. And so we start to look in the crystal ball and look at a -2 drop, maintain the same, or maybe even a +2. So we continue to look at that. And really, it's just basically not spending until we know for sure the money is in hand. Cost to provide service is adequate across, that's completed, but one of the things we continue to work at is the sewer rates. As you all know, we have several things that are ongoing from Fiber America to also working with ADM, how that could be a dynamic change to that, to be able to give you guys some options in the coming years to look at that. But we lowered the solid waste by $2 as well. So we continue to make sure we're providing the best service we can at the best cost while still being able to pay for that cost. The capital improvement plan, of course, equipment replacement, priority for those. We've actually now expanded that, as you guys saw, to 10 years to start taking a look at that. The next meeting we'll have, actually on November 8th, it's going to be scaled to 5, and we're solely going to focus on 1 year to look at committed projects to prep that for that. And then conducts an annual budget review and adopts the best possible levy rate, and that's going to be ongoing. You guys went to 1563 last year and lowered it even more. But I think what Councilman Oberman was also saying is that's another big part of how the whole breakdown of the levy structure works, from the 810 versus the emergency levy versus debt service. How's that paid? So I think that's very important as well. You guys did a great job on that. And then council satisfied development use of long-term plans and projections, and I think that's a continuous process. And as Mayor Scott and I, when we were at the League of Cities, one of the things we noted, like with Coralville, that Coralville project, when you get off the exit there with all the neat stuff, was visioned in 1980. So if we don't, as a crew, start to have that type of vision stuff and start to plant the seeds, like I'll use the example today, the mayor and several of us had the opportunity to meet with the Corps of Engineers to talk about the whole entire riverfront and talk about things that we can do to make it better. And it might not be tomorrow, might not be next year, but it could be, down the road where we see those fruits of the labors. And that's the things when we talk about long-term plans, we want to make sure we're postured for. So we continue to look at that as well. And you got to be financially solvent to be able to do those things, because there's matches or other things that you need to be able to pay. So, and then really on the bond rating, you guys remember, it didn't seem like a big event, but Anita was very excited. We remained A2, but the negative comment was removed. So I always call that like an A2 plus, right? And then, of course, lowered the debt service. It went from like $3.80 to $1.44, which is pretty big deals. So these goals are going to be tough to replicate coming forward, but we'll try. And then the next two was communications, and so that was a social media training and city council that we have, but continued, and we have Forge that does a great job of posting some of the things I threw in here from September of 21. We basically, when we started, had like 100 Facebook people that were on there, and 974 and up to 69,000 views. We got 576 followers on Instagram. We might pick up 6 tonight if they like us that came. That's right. I got to put that in the leadership class next year. They have to do it.
The gram. I don't even think
The gram. It's too long. Yeah, we don't want to be rando. I know that. Insta. It's called Insta and TikTok. Yeah, our TikTok is like got 10,000 followers. Yeah. Oh, it's private. You guys can't go on there. That's where we put the budget. The budget's all on TikTok. You got to look real quick. You'll miss it. And then basically upward trend for occurring on the Facebook post, and and that's one thing too that Ford's told us too. It's not all about typically like the numbers that sign on, but it's the shares, and that really came to fruition when you think about the Jurgensen Sports Soccer Complex. Winning that is, the numbers kept coming because people, and you can only get counted once, and so And that was very important. Each and every round, people were going on and voting for Clinton's, project, which was really incredible. So
In that same token, shouldn't they be voting for the P9?
I think they should for 25,000. Yes, and
Right.
Today.
yeah,
It's
Chief Jeering's been out there with the Facebook
So
crew
there's
getting out
still
there.
an opportunity to go on.
Yep, it'd be a $25,000 grant that would go to, I think more than one. There's going to be a handful that will go to folks that actually have canines, and we now have Grizz and Roman who are responsible for a lot of good quality work that they've been doing. So their sniffers work really good. So they can't come to my house. So
That goes to show you how good social media, to bring it back on topic, is for the city.
that's true. Yep.
Yeah.
Yep. And I think that would be a great deterrent too for all those folks that are home and that are thinking about the life of crime. Is Roman and Grizz will find you, and if not, our police officers will. So be careful out there, right? So maintain timely replies on OS ticket, and so we've been maintaining that. We're not as good as we could be. We're looking at a different software product because it's like there are some out there. You literally can take a picture of a pothole, send it in. Your email is directed into the Public Works Department. They handle that, and then they can get right back to you versus trying to go online, find where it is, type it in. Yes, it does. It gives a GPS location where you are. So it's all dollars. So we're going to take a look at over the next year a couple different software products that we can do that. Frustrating part with OS Ticket right now is it gets a lot of spam. It's just a spam collector. Yeah. And you have to go through all that, and it can be frustrating because you're opening up things that are just, and then you have to get with Josh and he has to delete it. So it might be best that we look at a different platform that we wouldn't have to be bothered by that as much and be able to get back to folks. And then the other part, just to link it with communications, is the phone. And I know we were talking today a little bit online about the phone system, but we're going to take another look at that because it's not working how it's set up. And so I've been having folks give direct line better because try to call the system and it just boots you out or takes forever. So, but I've been giving the mayor's cell phone number out, so that's been helpful.
Do you want to give it now?
8675309. And then I would just say back to you guys, because we put you guys at, I'm sorry, we missed this one. But iCompass, I think, is truly, and I say this a lot, but I always mean it, but it's been a game changer. And so it's really been helpful. And I don't know if you guys comment on that too, as we look at just using laptops, which we had actually planned for, but then COVID kind of, increased our effectiveness to get there. So
It's funny how the dollars that we had asked for set aside for laptops just to be able to view our packets 6 years ago weren't spent for like 4 years. And then it did really, it all meshed well together, because we were like, hey, we haven't got those electronic and we're wasting all this paper. And then boom, COVID hit and we were able to get the laptops and Lisa was able to implement something,
So,
way better.
Just,
Way better.
I'm curious now, that obviously saves some time as opposed to sitting there watching this thing go through. We've had to have saved a lot of money on paper.
This is back in the old days. You guys don't remember down there, but we get packets like this.
Ridiculous.
Oh, really?
Yes.
Yeah.
the printer would be like smoke.
They would fall apart. They
had
would bound.
carts, we'd wheel them in.
I'll predate you with Ditto Machine, but that's
No, this has been
Yeah.
super.
There's probably a number out there we could probably come up with. We could take a look, but it's definitely saved a lot of time, a lot of money.
In ink.
In ink. And really for transparency, because you can literally get the person. I've had citizens that call in, and I can direct them to the website, direct them to the piece that we're reading, and they're seeing the same thing.
Yep.
And that's usually the toughest part is because we're on two different sheets of music because they're talking about this road and we're over here on this bridge. So to be able to get them on the same sheet is very important. So we'll keep doing that. And then that's also communication because, early on, Mayor Scott, we had a couple of different conversations with folks that literally when we asked them if they read the paper, if they listened to the radio, if they got the lighthouse, it was no. So how do we still continue? And I talked to Councilmember Mussman today about this, we talked about having, like I call them fireside chats, but, basically huddles, and you have it and two people show up. We call it listening post here. And that's why I say, what say you, council, because it's just tough. They'll show, if it's a tough topic, you might get a good crowd. But if it's just general things that you're talking through, and so Councilmember Mussman and I decided we'll just start having dinners if we offer food. We'll see if more people will come. But I think that's also just goes back to the majority of folks just want us to do our job and get it done, and they're not that worried. It's the smaller vocal minority that wants to be able to get to us. So got to make sure we can get to them.
I'd like to see just even like a survey or of a few other Iowa towns, just close to us, near us, maybe our size, to see if they have, listening posts or what other ways they're engaging, and do they get the same response?
Yeah.
Because my guess is they probably do.
Yeah.
They're going to be in that, we're holding, what Councilman O'Neill used to hold his little monthlies.
2 or 3
and it would be the same 2 or 3, maybe 1 or 2 new. So it's tough. You're not. I don't know if you're going to catch them all.
Well, and I would argue too. I say this. I wouldn't argue. I disagree. But we've had several meetings where I would call them listening posts, where we've had, we had 18 different families in a community area within Clinton come in and talk about a topic. We've had several where we talk about projects and people come and they're on the map. We've had the trails where
The trails one, I think, is
people
one
come.
that was.
And so I think we do get there is some feedback. It's not going to be like 100
Yep.
people saying I love this, but it might be like a good strong 20 that are supportive.
I think that's, you hit the nail. Having walked a few streets the last few weeks, that's probably the biggest thing. If you bring the top to them, they're really pretty good about listening in, and then some questions will come out. But to go in empty-handed, it's very tough to bring people out. So
maybe we ought to put out a survey a couple times a year and say, how do you think we're doing? What would you like to see changed? Basically what we're doing right, what we're doing wrong.
So this week we got 5 thank you notes and 2 poopy notes. Just to let you know, this week we just opened them. Yep, we're working on the 2 poopy.
They were all addressed to me, don't worry.
call forwarding to the mayor's going to work.
Yes.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, but still,
Via handwritten notes, actually.
it would give us some topics even though we get 1 or 2 replies, it'd give us some topics to start with.
Davenport has done a little bit of that. Mike Mattson, the mayor down there, sent out surveys on a couple of different things, so maybe we could get with them and see if they've had success with it. Maybe it's an option.
Yeah.
But look at the surveys that we've recently done. We had how many turned in the Park and Rec survey? I mean, things that are very
Pinpoint.
specific, very pinpointed.
The master park plan,
the master park
complex,
plan. Yes,
all had great turnouts.
Very good turnouts.
Oh, and fiber.
Oh, fiber
For the
my
county.
God. Yeah. So I think it's topic related. It's not general. What do you think we're doing? Hey,
Correct.
we are looking for information on this particular topic, and when those come up, we just do it.
I
as
think
they come up.
the key to that would be to use the electronic means and methods for that, because we undertook a survey for the first time in many years when Jessica was here, and it would cost us pretty good chunk of change. Thousands of dollars, and we did actually get good feedback for what the folks that helped us with it, but I think we've got a lot better feedback now that we're able to use the
You can be at home,
electronic.
click
Yeah,
online, and then
absolutely.
hit send.
And it's specific. It's about, say, the sports complex, or it's about the broadband. If you're very specific with it, you'll get. I think you'll get the feedback.
So
And
topic of the month
time is quick.
Yeah.
Yep. And I think that's the part too, is I think we'll never have it. We'll always be working to better answer citizens' topics. But I think the more that we actually have them come our way, I always get surprised because I'll see something new that I thought I'd never see that comes along. But, we've had enough experience on different topics, and as council members grow into that, as well as the mayor, I think we're in a good space where we can at least get it to the right person for action and then get that response back quick. And one of the things we've taken a lesson learned too is you may not be able to get the answer like in 3 days, but call them back today and just let them know that you're going to be working on it, because it makes a difference, because not hearing back sometimes can be worse than, getting what you want to hear or not hear. So.
And one other thing too is that the communication of what questions we are getting from the general public, number one is always about roads. Which one is going to be done? Why is this one closed? What's going to happen here? It's all based on that. And if we have that information, we were looking at that, capital improvement stuff a couple of weeks. That's what we need. That's the information we need. It's the hot topics that people are interested in. Roads is going to be a hot topic for another 10 years, really.
It depends on the neighborhood.
Yes, it does. It depends on the neighborhood. You're right.
And we also had, basically talking about well-informed, and I think you're spot on. It's like, you can have some small surveys. It'd be great to survey some of the, even the folks that are in the crowd here, see if they ever answered. Did you guys ever answer a broadband survey that came around, or did your folks? Did you guys hear about that? Broadband or fiber survey that just came out from the county?
I think, we have a county supervisor in the back. You might want to give him some feedback as to why
Why you need fiber at your house?
Yeah.
Fast internet.
Yeah.
What's fiber? Is your internet slow? If the answer is yes, then you.
The fiber is how you can do better on Insta.
Yeah.
I just use my data because our Wi-Fi is so slow.
See, there you go.
Yeah.
See, they have to
That's
use
a
their
good
data.
comment.
Yep.
I'm on a Wi-Fi extender.
Wi-Fi extender.
Okay, because our router's too basic, so we bought extenders.
Yeah.
That's a good one too.
Reliable internet.
We also talked about, I call them brown bag of lunch, but lunch and I was just going to ask you guys, I think those are really good just to prep you guys, prep myself as well. I can't spell, that's why I did this in Word especially. But, as are those working, when we do the Thursday, Friday, 3 or less, because you can't have a quorum, is that helpful as we get ready for council meetings?
Oh, yes. I think so. I think they're very helpful.
The one thing that I like about it is we are talking about things that are upcoming but not necessarily on
Oh, yeah.
council agenda. Hey, this is,
Bigger end items.
bigger end items that, are not going to come to fruition for another month or two. You can, what's the word I want to use? You can anticipate what the questions are going to be so that we can get them answered as part of that topic 2 months from now.
Because literally in one day like today, I think there's 5 things that I still need to update you all on just that occurred today. One, we just talked about the Corps of Engineers, but several other ones that are really awesome. But it's like, how do we find time to do that? But we will. Confidential memo, no.
I'm sure you're working on the email.
Yeah. Yeah. It's in the queue.
He deleted it twice.
Yeah, I did. By accident.
Have we been around a while?
Yeah, so the other part was attendance on, training, and, that'll be coming up. Lisa and I just talked about that. We'll have our, when we set up the new calendar, when we have our training and stuff, that'll be coming out in November for your guys' approval. But, that's really been beneficial. We just took the last date we had, we went, the department heads and I went to the Manufacturing Drive Tech Center from the college. Had a whole day where we did some deep diving on different topics and issues and walked through everything from our new counseling evaluation forms, training, to just other topics that were going on. So that was very good. Anita did a great job assisting to put that together, but appreciate Clinton Community College letting us go over there. I really like that building, actually. It's very nice. And we're on manufacture. So that was really good. And, we still try to make sure we're hitting our safety, we're hitting our other training as we go, because, if you've been in the job for 10 years, 15 years, everything starts to get the same. So we got to keep add a little spice anyway. Maybe not the movie Dune because it's really slow, but a little spice. If you guys tracking that. My daughter probably heard that at home. So it's a real slow movie, and it's about the spice trade. Never mind. It was a bad movie years ago, too. So, all right. That's what I ask the kids in the leadership. I always ask them what they read or what they're watching, and they don't read or watch movies. So you don't read. All right. And then the Doctor on Demand, it really actually, I think it's 72 we have signed up, but it's actually a lot more folks are going to do that. And I think part of the thing, too, is with the advent of COVID, because I think at one time we had 2 that were signed up, and now we have like 72, and it does save us money, and it's helpful.
Yeah, absolutely.
And I actually use it. I'm not on the city healthcare. I actually used it. It was very helpful to say, hey, I need to go get some drugs.
I mean, for certain things, it's,
Yeah.
Yep.
Yep. Is it 12.3 minutes for each cube? So 11 Communications got that. We got boards and commissions. I'm going to compliment actually the board and commission folks with the mayor. It's tough to have those folks on there and keep folks active, but you guys are doing a great job. Clinton Community School District as well. We talked about tennis courts and that old dilapidated house, roads, Chamber of Commerce monthly, which we have several, the mayor and Councilmember Seeley, the Councilmember Shimmers for a CVB, and then we also have the CRD, all kinds of acronyms, state legislators as well, and then congressional delegation piece, which the mayor just hit the last week.
One of the things that we brought up when we were doing legislator day, whatever it was, is since we can, as needed, put the committee of the whole first, it would be a wonderful thing to, before the state legislators go into session, to have them, sit here so that we can discuss things that, are of big, we did that with the school board all the time. And that would be a neat thing, since we can put the committee of the whole first, have them come in, sit for half an hour, hey, we're talking about this is important to us, these are the projects that are coming up, we know that this is on the legislative calendar, this is how we feel about this particular thing, have that dialogue that we can do, before they go into the session.
I like it. And this basically was over the healthy physical, economic, and community environment. This goes from everything from combined sewer overflows, which are really down, as well as, in basements, which we had year-to-date at the point it had 7, which analyzed would be 21, which in the past it used to be a lot higher, so that's really great. Recycling, we're still around 4% from 2018 to 2021, and then continue to monitor the police's streets and the status of the streets. Because it's one thing to say we're at 65 condition index, but it's another thing when your road's really great or not so great. So we'll keep hearing about that. Overall, we've had a lot of stuff going on. That could probably be a whole separate cow. But when you talk about economic health, the mayor used basically between $795 to $1 billion we've seen in economic growth in the last 18 months. We have additional $42 million that's just gone into housing. That's apartments, new housing complexes, et cetera. So really, really odd last 24 months, but really very good as well. Saw Bridgeview move up to the tech park in 2020 because that was one of our things to have the tech park continue to grow. Liberty Square, we have the Alliance substation. We have a second business pending and working on a third. We have basically 5% for new jobs. We briefed the congressional folks 345 new jobs above and beyond what was already out there, and our estimates are around 500, but I think it's even higher that will be temporary jobs for all the stuff that's being done. If you just looked at through September, it was 2,000 plus permits and $110 million that was on capital that they were getting permits to go do that inside of Clinton. So it's just as you drive around, lots and lots going on. So that's great. I think Synergy, I'm not sure if they were today. They were going to actually try to check out the Wilson building this morning, the first floor.
Pictures.
Yep. I was going to try to stop, but I ran down to the core. But it's coming along. Last I talked to them, they were 60% that they've already had reservations for rooms. So 60% out of 33. So
that's awesome.
Got moving along. Liberty Square. Actually, my next meeting is with Steve Leidinger. We're working on the Liberty Square overlay. My intent is get us through the elections, get us in the new year, and I'm going to have hopefully like a 90% draft of the Liberty Square overlay in the January, February timeframe.
Elections.
Oh, elections, yeah, November 2nd, I hear that's happening.
It'll be next week.
So the Liberty Square overlay for everybody, that's basically, originally the concept was done, it was very constrained, meaning what could you put in there? Like, for example, today you couldn't put a Chick-fil-A in there, according to the overlay, right? And is that so good? No, that's bad. So we want to relook that and see what could do. And then also what we're looking at is, not to digress too much in this, but looking at each area as an island. Like, so each area between the roads would be an island. And we might have, this might be a commercial island, but this might be a retail island. And that's the things that we're working together to put for you guys to bring back for your guys' decision on what you want to see happen inside of Liberty Square.
One thing too that I'd like to see a Christmas tree again this year, like how you did the Christmas tree last year with all the different things that we
Sean and I
did.
are doing that this year.
Not that.
Oh, no, the Christmas tree?
Yeah, about all the neat things that have happened this year.
Yeah, okay, I'll work on it.
Do you remember that?
Yeah. I might need to do like redwood because there's so much on it.
That'd be fine too.
Be Detroit.
Where was that in? Football game.
Yeah. And then we had basically the tough part on the urban renewal area was Highway 30 all the way up to the Lions up to 25, Fifth Avenue North. So it's really tough to tell, but we're going to try to see if we can do like part of a labor study to see how that's grown with the businesses that come in, because that's part of when you do a new urban renewal area, you're supposed to measure that. So we're going to still work on that one. Let's see, survey, city council, blah, blah, blah. Gotcha. And then more health. So 3 to 5 new homes on infills. That's the one we're kind of stumbling around on a little bit. We've had a couple different groups looking at that, but we still have a lot of 50-foot buildable lots, but we just haven't been successful in nailing down. I think the route we're going to eventually go for 2022 to 2024 is leveraging ECIA and a program that where in Newton, it's actually built, they're built by prisoners and then they're shipped over and they're nice, like $120,000 to $180,000 homes that could be put up. And that might be something we look at to start looking at how we infill on some of these areas that have some nice lots that could.
What's this called, Matt?
No, this was the first, this was healthy physical economic.
No, what you just mentioned.
He's talking about the infill for the 50-foot lots.
Another program that we could actually get houses from the prisoners in Newton that build them. We'd pay for them, but then we'd actually infill them on lots as brand new houses.
Are you working on that?
Yep.
How far are you?
Well, we were pretty far, but then we slowed down. We actually had another one, which was Housing 360 that we're going to do, but the issue there was we had to pay for the first house. And I was just hesitant to put down $200,000 for the first house. And so that's why we wanted to finish, at least get through the first 7 gut rehabs before we start looking at that. And I think it'd be a great third-party thing, like a chamber CRDC thing that would be led versus the city.
I would like to know more about this.
So does our zoning, are we going to have to relook at that completely then? I guess if we're not successful with that, at what we can do with the 50-foot wide lot.
Yeah.
Overall, let's say that doesn't come to fruition, or it just doesn't make financial sense. Do we then just look at our
or even 40-foot lot?
Right. Yeah. Look at our zoning and say, listen, how do we handle that?
Yep. Or maybe what you do is you create zones that you could have certain zones areas as long as they still have a distance from the houses next to it.
Right.
That's the problem we have is that.
Yeah, we got some that are very, very tight.
Yeah, they think they share gutters.
Yeah.
Well, we could combine lots too.
Well, the issue with the combining is once it's 50-foot lot and it's buildable, we have to put it out for bid.
Yep.
Okay.
So that's what I'm saying. Do we look at, or do you folks eventually, if you're not going to bring it up this year, look at doing something like that?
Yeah.
But I think that would be a very good decision. So, and I think part of this too is I stalled for a year, but I'd like to see whether ECIA or Iowa State would do it, but we need to have a 2022 housing study. And they need to look at everything that was just done over the last 5 years, because our last one's 2016. So we need to have that done as well. So I'm going to add that. But we had Valley Bluff that's hooking and jabbing. They continue to build. Of course, we have Riverstone Crossing and Zara Heights, and also Mill Creek Crossing and Jordan Heights that are still putting foundations in. We have 6 owner occupies, I think 7. So I'll move that to 2021 here. And we have the first one sold. Next 2 are getting very close. One of the challenges we see with that is just so limited and constrained on where they have to be financially. So we're going to take a look at that with the state. And I have a note prep for Debbie Durham to talk about, can we modify that a little better to see if we can have a little more success in filling those up quicker. We've had a lot of success with them coming in and liking the houses, but they just didn't meet the criteria to be able to buy it.
So when you look at all this housing, do you look at also the private people that are, because I've got 3 brand new houses in my ward in the last 6 months.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. So this was just what we could do as an economic piece to get folks to come in and do. But yes, so one of the big things you'll see is on the Iowa State study, we have since 1990, only 8% of our houses are new. So 40% of our houses are 1930 or older. So our average age house is 1952 right now. So when you have only like we had from the last 10 years, we had 1.6% of our housing are from the last 10 years. And if you look at Cedar Rapids and Bettendorf, you're going to see about 20% of their houses are from since 2010. So that's one of the big things. And that's also when people ask me is like, what's your biggest concern in Clinton? It is housing. And it's housing across the board. We had, I think, Representative Miller Meeks asked, what's affordable housing? I said, it's the whole scale. It's from here over to here, and it's not an angle. It's because everybody's at a different income level, but you can't find those niche areas because there's none that exist. So what do we do to be able to do that? And I think that's going to be very important as we look to how we continue to ramp up the population in Clinton, is have those affordable housing for everybody, that's out there in the economic span. So, and then 2 or more gut rehabs. So I talked about that. Remove nuisances. I was looking at a whole sheet. So, ironically, the Iowa State study showed the percentage equals 174 vacant or nuisance houses. So it might be a little higher. Tammy said it might be over a little 200 now because it ebbs and flows, but we had over almost close to 500. So, and I don't know how they got their data. That was 2019, but I know how we get ours. We get it from eyes and folks on the ground seeing that, but that we got to continue to stay on that. Yeah. We ran across several owners that have multiple, like 5 to 10 properties that are empty throughout the city.
So we're around 200?
We're probably about 235 to 250 right now.
So we're down half.
From what the study showed.
Yeah.
So that's huge.
Yeah.
From 2019.
Yep. But Tammy will tell you, Tammy Johnson, nuisance officer, she'll tell you it ebbs and flows. We could drop to 190, then all of a sudden we have 30 that pop back on because they become vacant, no one's in them.
But we seem to be taking on bigger and bigger buildings too.
True, like the YM or yes.
Yeah.
Yep.
A little more costly.
Yep. And then recreation pieces, it amazes me when I look at the number of stats coming out of the Erickson Center, but hundreds and hundreds of sports competitions are being run, even as we went through COVID, whether it's soccer, whether it's basketball, whether it's 3-year-olds, whether it's adults. And so that's awesome as that continues to be here as well. And of course, we had continue to remove ash trees and treat as required. We also added the right-of-way pieces as dead trees. But Brian got a head start with that with Del Ratio, or Del Reco. Continue to improve the organizations. Blessed to have really strong departments and department heads, and that's a very nice piece to know. Very responsible. We did talk a lot about succession planning, and it's the old adage, I don't want to tell you all my job because you'll take it. Well, we don't care. We want to have SOPs in place. We want to have people that 2, 3 down the road can step up and fill in that void because no one likes to admit this, but we're all replaceable. We all have to retire at some time. We all have to go and do different things. So we need to make sure that we have a system that runs and it can run pretty well and not too much oil. Training, same thing, future training dates all across the board. We typically don't have to worry that with the police and fire because they got a pretty strong handle on their training pieces, but also we need to make sure throughout all the staff that we're doing that. So we continue to focus on that. Employees indicate satisfied with the ability to train. I think we talked about surveys out to the public. I think surveys are good if they have an end state purpose. And so we're going to also look at surveys for some of our internal employees in the departments. They're going to be very department specific and ask those hard questions so that they actually have a chance to come out and say something that's not going to be related back to them. It can be a anonymous survey. I think that has to happen occasionally because sometimes folks may not feel that their voice is being heard. So we'll do that as well. And then continue on. We're almost there. My 12 and a half minutes is almost up. So I left this in here because this is from December 20, but Joel, Fire Chief Atkinson, is working on a fire and EMS. We're going to do that in-house. To continue where the calls are coming from, what's the time to get to them, et cetera. So we're going to continue to focus on that, as well as the police department piece. We know that we have a lease. We're going to be working on that through the CIP on the road ahead for the final disposition of the police department. The RWF, they actually moved. They were moved in. We're going to set up some time if Bob hasn't reached out to you yet to get you to go down there. I went down there 2 weeks ago. It's looking really good, getting fully operational there. They started the 7th and 8th, and then Josh Hansen was working on the IT. 2 weeks ago, Josh? Did you get the IT done down there? Yeah. Is that? Can you even read that TV screen? That one looks crazy.
That sure does. That's weird.
Yeah.
Wow, that looks bad.
It's like hieroglyphics or something. That's probably what they're reading at home, and they've all turned on the World Series. It starts
Game
tonight.
1.
I'm going. So anyway, we're doing really good on departments. I think we'll keep that up, not to just breeze, but, really good. We have the new HR manual that came out. One of the things that Councilmember Kearns really, impressed upon us was the evaluation thing that now we have in place. So we went through a third party to come up not only with a new pay matrix, but then also evaluations that could eventually lead to, some incentives for folks that are performing above and beyond, which is outstanding because it's always bad if you guys go get your first job. Hopefully they give you a task and purpose and you know what your job is, right? Like in volleyball, you know what your task and purpose is? You do, I know. They're doing very well. But I think the HR manual is very important. That was something that led by Pat O'Connell to your left, or my left, your right if you're on the other side. But did a great job. That thing is going to probably be able to withstand many years, and if anything, it's an addendum or amendment that goes to it. So it's very important that people can open that book and know that there's a standard they can go to. Of course, we talked about emergency response and disaster plans. Move that up because everything from having our little sidewalls here that we had to, our
Not seeing each other, or
Not
seeing each other remotely.
yeah, remote. And then ordinance, you guys still, and so I tell everybody, there's 78 ordinances, but you could literally update one ordinance 15 times. So to say 45 ordinance of 78 was the last 3 years, it's still a lot, but there's still, and that's for our crew that's visiting is if there's something you don't like, how do you get it changed? Well, you talk to your council members, you start to bring it because if you don't like the fact you have to do street parking, well, it's all in an ordinance. So you got to be able to then adapt and change that stuff. And that's all I have, and that's my 12 and a half minutes. So, questions? Roll call. She knows your job, part of your job.
That's not coming up. Any questions through here?
I would just make a comment that I think it's something that, as you see a lot of the things that did kind of get ticked off, there's, marked off, whatever, that there is, I think, a lot of room for improvement, but we've come a long ways too. So I mean, it's always good to see that. You look back year after year what you've done, and you say, wow, we actually did, accomplish quite a bit of things we hope to accomplish in a short time frame. So,
well, we're going to take a look this year at Amazon. The Amazon model is they don't, originally it set goals they knew they could accomplish, but now they set goals that they know they won't get to, but they want to keep working. So I think in some of our gold area, I think we're going to set them a little higher, just to put a little more pressure on ourselves for that. So.
Sure. Okay.
Do you accept audience comments?
Sure.
Okay. My name is Les Shields, and I wanted to tell you about two things that I saw in this recent presentation. And one of them talks about the online support ticket that's on the city website. I've used that a lot, and I get excellent response to that. I mean, I don't think I've ever waited an hour before I've had a response back that we've received your ticket or your complaint and it's been referred, and it's immediate returns the next day maybe, where they're responding to me that this is the action they're taking. One that's really current right now, and it's a puzzler for city staff, is I have reported the traffic signal at 2nd Avenue South and 7th Street changes to red for 2nd Avenue South traffic every 20 seconds. But that only occurs during darkness. During daylight, that signal cycles properly. When traffic pulls up there, then it will cycle and stop 2nd Avenue South traffic. But in the darkness hours, every 20 seconds that thing cycles. I pull up there, I stop, I pull it when it turns green. I can't get one block down the street before I'm looking in the rearview mirror and it's turning red again and there's nothing there. Okay? The other thing is you covered how different of council members are covering going to other boards and commissions and meeting with the Chamber of Commerce and the CRDC. And I don't want you to forget that you also have Councilmember Connell, who is a appointed representative to the Clinton County Development Association. And that is a state law requirement, and he will not be on the council next year. So one of you need to think about stepping up to be the representative of the Clinton County Development Association. Okay? And the third thing is we're going to need to think about moving this council meeting time because it interferes with Jeopardy from 4:30 to 5 o'clock.
I lost on Jeopardy.
Thank you.
You're the second person.
TiVo.
Is there any other comments on this?
we had good internet. No.
Man, I just want to thank you for that presentation. It was very good.
And we look forward to planning for the next strategic plan. All right, council mayor updates. Councilmember Kearns, got anything?
If you get Pizza Hut before 7 o'clock, you can still be in on the 20% of the profits go to the Discovery Center.
Awesome.
Oh, cool. Oh,
Good
pizza
deal.
night. Anything else? Councilmember Mussman.
Just said nothing before Matt started talking.
Councilmember Oberon.
I ditto that. I'm going to Pizza Hut.
Ditto. Councilmember Shimmers.
Vote November 7th.
All right. Councilmember Connell.
I'm good, thank you.
Seeley? Robinson? A couple things. Friday night, I think it's 5 to 9, is the Boo Bash, the Rotary Boo Bash. So make sure you head out to that if you're interested. Trick or Treat is Saturday from 6 to 8. And happy Halloween to everyone. The parade last night was outstanding. I think there was 10,000 people along 2nd Street. I really do. There had to have been. It was really good. So, two quick updates. One, Matt mentioned earlier that the Corps of Engineers was here today to start the scope of work on the item that you guys let me send a letter to for the planning assistance to states. So that scope of work should be coming to you guys in the next couple months as that comes up. Very, very good discussion with them, and they had so many ideas about things that we didn't even bring up. Like, we could do this, we could do that, we can partner. So it really can be a long-term thing going forward. So all the folks out there that told me the Corps wouldn't help, it shows you that you're wrong, because they're outstanding. Yeah, there you go. We did have Matt, Jason, and I did go to Washington, D.C. last week, and we'll have to put something together to give you guys an update on how that went. It was a lot of fun. I think it was extremely productive. All the meetings that we went to, we met with Grassley, Ernst, Miller Meeks, and then we also met with Ashley Hinson's staff, because both of the maps that have come out now have pushed Hinson to our district instead of Miller Meeks. So we made the initial kind of meet and greet with her staff just in case that were to happen. But it went really, really well. And then the last thing is Councilmember Oberon and I are getting the state of the city, and Matt are working on the state of the city. Probably going to end up being the third week in November just because of location stuff, but I'll be looking out for that. Our plan is to do it as kind of like a luncheon like the school did, so all of you obviously will be invited.
395 slides.
Maybe, yeah. But it'll be an hour long, it'll be quick, there'll be food, so it'll be all good. So that's all I have. Is there any other updates from anybody? All right, we are adjourned.